The day I walked past a beggar, everything changed. Beggar whispers softly, "One day, or you will remember this moment." What followed was more than fear. It was a haunting. And from guilt came redemption. The day I walked past a beggar, and what happened next. Don't miss this powerful story. Like, share, and subscribe for more. That afternoon, the sun was hot over Lagos. People moved quickly on the busy road. Cars honked, and hawkers shouted about their goods. I was walking home from work, holding my small nylon bag that had bread and pure water inside. My salary had just been paid, and though it was little, I was happy to have something in my pocket. As I reached the corner of the street, I saw him, the beggar. He was sitting on the bare floor by the roadside, wearing a torn shirt and faded trousers. His legs were stretched out, thin and weak, and his hands trembled as he held out a rusty metal plate. His eyes looked tired, but they still carried something deep, something I could not understand at once. People passed him as if he was invisible. Some turned their heads away, pretending not to see. Others looked at him with pity but did not stop. He kept whispering in a low voice, "Please help me. Anything, even 10 naira." I slowed down. My heart wanted to stop and give him something, even if it was just 50 naira from my small money. But another voice in my head said, "Don't stop. If you start giving today, you will never finish. There are beggars everywhere in Lagos. Save your money for yourself." I remembered my rent, which was already late. I remembered the long list of things I still needed to buy. My shoes were getting old. My younger sister in the village was waiting for me to send money, and even the bread I carried was not enough to fill my stomach. With all these thoughts, I walked past him quickly. But something happened. As I took my next steps, I heard him call out, not to me, but almost as if to the whole street. His voice was weak, but it carried a strange strength. "One day," he said, "you will remember this moment." I froze. My feet refused to move. I turned back slightly, but he was no longer looking at me. He stared at the ground, his hand still holding the plate. People kept walking by, paying no attention. Yet those words felt like they were meant for me alone. I shook my head and forced myself to continue walking. "It is nothing," I told myself. "He is just talking nonsense." Still, the sound of his words followed me as I reached the junction. I tried to push it away, but it refused to leave. "One day you will remember this moment." That night, as I lay on my small mattress in my one-room apartment, I could not sleep well. The fan made noise above me. Mosquitoes sang by my ear. But my mind was fixed on the beggar. Why did he say that? What did he mean? I had no answers, but in my heart I felt something unusual. My story with that beggar was not over. The next morning I woke up still thinking about the beggar. I tried to shake the thought away as I prepared for work. I brushed my teeth by the small plastic bowl near the window, boiled water for Gary, and got dressed in my brown shirt and black trousers. But in my mind, his words still echoed. "One day you will remember this moment." At the office, I tried to focus on my duties. I worked in a small printing shop where we typed documents, printed flyers, and made photocopies. My boss, Mr. Emmanuel, was strict and always watching. If he caught me being lazy, he would not hesitate to shout. But even while I arranged papers and pressed the copy machine, I felt distracted. The beggar's face kept appearing in my head. That evening, when I got home, I was too tired to cook. I ate the bread I had bought the previous day with cold water and lay down on my bed. The room was hot because Nipa had taken the light. I fanned myself with an old cardboard and slowly drifted to sleep. Then it happened. I found myself standing on that same street corner where I had seen the beggar. But the road was empty. No cars, no hawkers, no noise. The whole place was quiet, almost too quiet. Suddenly, I heard the sound of someone crying. I turned around, and there he was, the beggar sitting in the same position as before. His clothes were even more torn, and his face looked older, as if years had passed. "Why didn't you help me?" he asked in a voice that pierced my heart. His eyes shone with tears and his weak hands shook. I tried to speak, but no words came out. My mouth moved, but no sound followed. I wanted to say, "I am sorry, I didn't have enough. I was afraid." But I could not. He continued, "One small act of kindness could have changed everything. But you walked away." Suddenly, I felt the ground open beneath me. Darkness swallowed the street. I was falling into a deep hole, and the beggar's voice grew louder, echoing all around me. One day, you will remember this moment. One day, you will understand. I woke up suddenly, sweating all over. My heart beat fast as if I had been running. It was still dark in the room, and the sound of distant generators filled the night air. I sat up and held my head in my hands. It was just a dream, but it felt so real that I could still hear his voice in my ears. The next day, I walked past that same street corner again, but the beggar was not there. For the first time, I felt a strange worry. Where could he be? Did something happen to him? As I continued walking, a small chill passed through me. I did not know it then, but that was the beginning of a chain of events that would turn my life upside down. The following week passed like a shadow. I kept going to work, meeting customers, and carrying out my normal duties. On the outside, everything looked the same, but inside me I was restless. Every night, the beggar's words and that strange dream returned to trouble me. One Friday evening, as I walked home from the shop, I decided to pass by the same street corner where I had first seen him. The rush hour crowd was there as usual. Hawkers carrying baskets of oranges, Okada riders shouting for passengers, and drivers pressing their horns impatiently. But the beggar was still missing. His usual spot was empty. I asked one of the groundnut sellers nearby, "Madam, that beggar that used to sit here, have you seen him?" The woman shook her head. "He has not been around since last week. Some say he is sick, others say he died. Nobody knows." Her words hit me hard. Died. My chest tightened. Why was I so disturbed? People died every day in Lagos, strangers I had never met. Yet the thought of that beggar being gone left me unsettled, like I had failed in some way. That night the dream returned, only worse. This time I was walking down a dark alley. At the end of the alley I saw the beggar again, lying on the ground. His hands reached out toward me. "You could have helped," he whispered, "but you walked away." His eyes closed and his body went still. I woke up shouting, my body shaking with fear. For the rest of the night I could not sleep. I sat on my bed staring at the ceiling, my mind full of questions. Was I being punished for not giving him money? Why did it feel as though my life and his were somehow connected? The next day, something strange happened. I was at the printing shop when a young boy came in. He looked rough, his slippers torn, his clothes dirty. He dropped a crumpled piece of paper on the counter and said, "My uncle asked me to bring this here." I unfolded the paper. It was an old, worn-out note with shaky handwriting. The words made my hands tremble. "To the man who walked past me, you will remember me soon. Do not ignore the signs." My legs felt weak. I looked at the boy quickly. "Who gave you this? Who is your uncle?" He shrugged. "An old man by the road. He told me to find you here." Before I could ask more questions, the boy dashed out of the shop and disappeared into the crowded street. I rushed outside to look for him, but he was gone. I stood there sweating while people brushed past me. My heart pounded loudly in my chest. The beggar was gone, yet somehow his shadow was still following me, and deep inside I knew this was only the beginning. After the strange note, my life changed. Nothing felt normal anymore. At work, I made mistakes while typing documents. Customers complained that I was too slow. Even my boss noticed. "Are you all right?" Mr. Emanuel asked one morning, frowning at me. I nodded quickly, but inside I was far from all right. The note stayed in my pocket for days. Sometimes I brought it out and stared at the shaky handwriting. "You will remember me soon. Do not ignore the signs." Each time, fear gripped me stronger. What signs? What was I supposed to remember? That Saturday, I decided to visit the street again. I walked slowly, looking left and right, hoping to see the beggar. The spot where he usually sat was empty, just as before. I asked different people. Some said he had been taken away by an ambulance. Others claimed he simply vanished one night. No one was sure. As I turned to leave, I noticed an old man selling newspapers nearby. He had been there every day, but I never paid attention to him. This time he looked straight at me, his eyes sharp, almost too sharp for his wrinkled face. "You are troubled," he said in a low voice. I froze. "Excuse me?" "The man you saw here is not an ordinary beggar," the newspaper seller continued. "He tests the hearts of people. Some ignore him and go free. But some, like you, carry his shadow until they learn their lesson. My throat went dry. What do you mean? The man shook his head slowly. You will understand when the time comes. Then he bent down and arranged his newspapers as if the conversation was over. I walked away quickly, my body shaking. Lagos was a noisy city filled with strange stories, but I never believed I would be part of one. That night, the dream came again. This time it was even clearer. I was standing in a large crowd. People were laughing, buying things, living their lives. Then I saw the beggar walking among them, but no one else could see him, only me. He came close and whispered, "Your test is not over. If you fail again, you will lose something you love." I woke up gasping, my pillow wet with sweat. My room was silent except for the ticking wall clock. The dream felt so real that I pressed my hands to my chest, trying to calm down. The next morning, I called my younger sister in the village. "Amaka, are you all right?" I asked quickly. She laughed softly. "Yes, I am fine. Why do you sound worried?" I lied and told her nothing was wrong. But deep inside, I was afraid. What if the warning meant something would happen to her, or to me? As I sat on my bed staring at the old note again, I realized one thing. The beggar was no longer just a memory. He was part of my life now, whether I liked it or not, and I had no idea how to escape. Days passed, but my fear only grew stronger. I tried to bury myself in work, hoping that if I ignored the thoughts, they would disappear. But the warning from my dreams stayed in my heart. If you fail again, you will lose something you love. One Wednesday evening, as I was closing from the printing shop, I received a call from an unknown number. When I answered, a weak voice whispered, "Remember me." I froze. "Who is this?" I asked quickly, but the line went dead. My hands shook so badly that I almost dropped my phone. I tried calling the number back, but it didn't go through. For the rest of the walk home, I kept looking over my shoulder, certain that someone was following me. At home, I locked the door and sat on the bed, holding my head. Maybe I was going crazy. Maybe it was just stress. But a part of me knew it was more than that. 2 days later, the first sign appeared. I was standing at the bus stop in Ojuelegba, waiting for a Danfo. It was late, around 9 p.m., and the place was full of tired workers rushing home. As I stood there, I noticed a small boy sitting by the gutter. He looked about 8 years old, barefoot, with a torn shirt. His hands stretched out toward people passing by. Nobody paid him attention. I looked at him and my chest tightened. Something about his face reminded me of the beggar. The same tired eyes, the same trembling hand. For a moment, I felt like I was looking at the beggar reborn in a child's body. I hesitated. My salary was almost finished. I only had a few naira left for transport. If I gave the boy money, I would have to trek part of the way home. The warning came back to me. If you fail again, you will lose something you love. My hands shook as I dipped into my pocket. Slowly, I pulled out a 50 naira note and bent down. The boy looked up at me, surprised. His lips curved into a small smile as he collected the money. "Thank you, sir," he whispered. At that moment, I felt a strange calmness in my chest, as if I had passed a test. I turned to look for my bus, but then something strange happened. The boy was gone. I looked around quickly, left, right, behind me, but he had disappeared. The spot where he sat was empty. People were walking by as if nothing unusual had happened. My heart pounded. "Did anyone see that boy?" I asked a woman beside me. She frowned. "Which boy?" Nobody was sitting there. I couldn't speak. My throat went dry. I knew what I had seen. The boy had been real, or at least real to me. As the Danfo finally arrived and I climbed in, my heart whispered one truth. The beggar was testing me, and this was only the beginning of the signs. After the strange night at the bus stop, I could not think straight. I replayed the scene again and again in my head. The small boy, his smile, and then his sudden disappearance. I tried to convince myself it was stress or tiredness, but deep inside I knew it was not. The beggar's shadow was following me. For a few days, nothing unusual happened. I almost believed it was over. Then one Sunday morning, my phone rang. It was a call from the village. My aunt's voice shook as she spoke. "Amaka has fainted." My heart stopped. "What? My sister? How?" She was sweeping the compound when she collapsed. They rushed her to the clinic. The phone nearly slipped from my hand. I dressed quickly and headed straight to the bus park. The journey to my village was long and rough. I kept praying silently as the bus moved along the bumpy road. The warning from my dream echoed in my mind. If you fail again, you will lose something you love. When I arrived, I ran to the small clinic. Amaka lay on a wooden bed, her face pale, her body weak. She tried to smile when she saw me. "Brother, you came." Tears burned in my eyes. "Of course I came. You will be fine." The nurse explained that she had been sick for weeks, but they didn't have enough money for proper treatment. My heart sank. I should have sent money earlier, but I had been too distracted by my own troubles. Guilt stabbed me deeply. That night, as I sat beside her bed, she whispered, "I had a dream. A man came to me. He looked like a beggar. He told me to be strong, that my brother would make the right choice soon." Chills ran down my body. The beggar again. He had reached my sister too. The next morning, before I could find help, Amaka's breathing grew heavy. She held my hand tightly, her eyes filled with fear. "Don't leave me," she whispered. "I won't," I said, tears streaming down my face. But within minutes, she closed her eyes and went still. I screamed, shaking her body, begging her to wake up. My aunt and the nurse rushed in, but it was too late. My sister was gone. I felt my chest break apart. The pain was sharp, unbearable. I remembered the warning again. If you fail again, you will lose something you love. Had I failed? Was this punishment for walking past the beggar that first day? For hours I sat outside the clinic, staring into the distance. The sun was hot, but I felt nothing. The world around me moved on. Children playing, women carrying water, men talking in groups. But inside me, everything was silent. That night I dreamed again. The beggar appeared, standing in darkness. His voice was calm but heavy. "This is only the beginning. Until you understand the true meaning of kindness, more will be taken." I woke up trembling, sweat pouring down my body. For the first time in my life, I was truly afraid of the days to come. After Amaka's death, my life lost its balance. I returned to Lagos with a heavy heart. Nothing felt the same again. At work, my boss shouted at me almost every day. Customers complained that I was careless. I knew it was true. I was no longer the person I used to be. At night, the dreams became worse. Sometimes I saw my sister standing beside the beggar, her eyes full of sadness. Other times I saw myself walking on a road with no end, while voices whispered, "You failed. You failed." I would wake up gasping, my bed drenched with sweat. One evening after closing from work, I decided to walk instead of taking a bus. My heart was heavy, and I wanted fresh air. As I passed under the Ojuelegba Bridge, I felt someone behind me. I turned quickly. It was him, the beggar. He was standing in the shadow, wearing the same torn clothes, holding the same rusty plate. My body froze. I blinked, and he disappeared. People walked past me as if nothing strange had happened. I ran all the way home, my chest pounding. I locked the door and sat on the floor, trembling. Later that night, I heard a knock. 3 slow knocks on my door. "Who is it?" I asked, my voice shaking. No answer. The knocks came again, louder this time. With trembling hands, I opened the door. No one was there. The corridor was empty, silent. But as I turned back into the room, my eyes landed on my table. On it sat the rusty plate, the same one the beggar always carried. I staggered back in fear. My head spun. How did it get there? I didn't touch it. I couldn't. I sat in the corner of the room until morning, watching it, too afraid to move. The next day, I carried the plate to the church near my street. I met the pastor and explained everything. The dreams, the note, my sister's death, the haunting. He listened quietly, his eyes serious. "My son," he said, "sometimes God sends us tests through the most unexpected people. That beggar was a messenger. You ignored him, and now you are carrying guilt. But it is not too late." "What should I do?" I asked, almost in tears. "Show kindness. Not once, not twice, but until it becomes part of your life. That is the only way to break the shadow." I left the church with a heavy but clearer heart. For the first time, I had something to hold on to. Maybe redemption was still possible. That evening, I saw a woman by the roadside struggling with her heavy load. For a moment, I wanted to walk past, just like before. But then I remembered the pastor's words. I stopped, helped her lift the basket, and carried it across the road. She smiled warmly. God bless you, my son. For the first time in weeks, I felt a small peace inside me. But deep in my heart, I knew this journey was not over. The beggar was still watching. After helping the woman on the roadside, I decided to change. I began to notice people I once ignored. The old woman who sold roasted corn near my house, the crippled man who begged by the bus stop, the children who hawk sachet water at night. I started to see them not as strangers, but as human beings, just like me. Every day I tried to show kindness, even in small ways. Sometimes it was giving food. Other times it was a smile or carrying a load for someone. Each act made my heart lighter, but the fear of the beggar never left me. His shadow still followed me in dreams, still reminded me of my failure. One night I dreamed again. This time I was standing on the same street corner where it all began. The beggar was there, sitting on the ground, holding out his rusty plate. I walked toward him slowly, my heart beating fast. "You came back," he said, his voice soft but strong. "Yes," I whispered. "I am sorry. I should have helped you the first time. I let my fear of lack blind me. But I have learned. Kindness is not about how much you have. It is about the heart that gives." He looked at me with tired eyes. Then for the first time he smiled. "You have passed," he said. Suddenly light surrounded him. His torn clothes became white and the rusty plate vanished. His face grew bright, almost shining, and I realized he was not just a beggar. He was something more. An angel, a messenger, a test. "Your sister is at peace," he said gently. "Her loss was painful, but it opened your eyes. Never forget the lesson." Tears filled my eyes. I reached out, but as soon as my hand moved toward him, the light grew stronger, and he disappeared. I woke up on my bed, my face wet with tears, but my heart felt light, lighter than it had in months. From that day, I changed fully. People around me noticed. My boss at the printing shop said I had become more patient with customers. Neighbors said I was kinder. Even strangers felt it when I offered help with no expectation of return. The fear of the beggar's curse no longer haunted me. Instead, his words became my guide. One small act of kindness can change everything. Years later, when I look back at my life, I realized that the day I walked past a beggar was the day everything began. It was not a curse, it was a calling to see beyond myself, to live a life that touched others, to understand that we are all beggars in one way or another, waiting for someone to show us mercy. And I never forgot, because that moment and what happened after truly changed my life forever.